24 hours. "24 hours ago, a bit less, we were within 6 minutes of launching Ariane Flight 127 and its cargo SUPERBIRD. All these systems on both the launcher and the spacecraft were green. But then we had a red, meteorological red, 20,000 feet of cloud over the launch pad, and eventually that cloud closed the window on us. Since then, the ground crew really haven't stopped. They've emptied and refueled the third stage. They've repeated the entire 14.5-hour countdown process. But the good news is that all the systems are green, and the launcher and the spacecraft are ready for launching in the window that opens at 22:04 hours Kourou time. See you then.
日本の皆様、おはようございます。昨日の打ち上げが気象条件のアラートによって中止されてから24時間が経過いたしました。このアラートはアリアンロケットから 10km の位置にあった高度 6500m に達する雷雲によるものでした。昨日の打ち上げ中止決定後、ロケットクルーは決められた手順に従って第3弾の燃料を一旦抜いて空にし、本日改めて燃料を再充填するとともにロケットのカウントダウンを再開。スーパーバード4号機を搭載してアリアン 44LP の打ち上げ準備が進んでおります。本日の打ち上げは日本時間午前10時4分の予定になっております。
Bonsoir à tous. Il y a 24 heures, nous nous sommes quittés sur un rouge météo alors que l'ensemble de lancement et toutes les équipes opérationnelles étaient prêtes. Le responsable d'ailleurs de ce rouge météo, c'était un nuage d'une épaisseur supérieure à 6500 mètres et qui était localisé à moins de 10 km de la base de lancement. Après que nous ayons quitté hier soir, les techniciens ont appliqué toutes les procédures très strictes de vidange du 3e étage et remis en configuration Ariane-44LP avec son satellite SUPERBIRD 4. Maintenant, toutes les conditions sont réunies pour lancer ce soir cette 127e Ariane à partir de 22h04, heure de Kourou.
Well, here we are back in Jupiter Control, and as you can see, all the displays on the indicator, they're all the shade that everyone wants to see, a lovely shade of green.
Including the weather.
Indeed, including the weather. So the launcher is ready to fly from the pad. We have a few seconds while we're waiting to hear from the DDO the announcement of the synchronized sequence.
Here is Steve Hall, who is interfacing at Ariane-Start with the Space Communications Corporation customer team from Japan. He's also waiting for the announcement in a few seconds now.
Of the synchronized sequence.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le début de la séquence synchronisée. Top à 0-6 minutes.
That was Thierry Bouffard, the range operations manager from the French space agency CNES here at Kourou.
Right, we're now into this final phase then, to lift off, a major step in clearing the launch of a flight. So Juan, explain in words that I can understand what exactly is happening during this synchronized sequence.
Well, it is a 6-minute long automated sequence. We call it synchronized because all systems that participate in the countdown have to work with the same clock. And most importantly, they have to be all ready for liftoff at T0. This includes some of the satellite or spacecraft operations, for instance, the switchover into onboard electrical power.
So are we seeing a transfer of power from the ground control to the launcher itself?
That's correct. There is a switchover to onboard batteries, both for SUPERBIRD 4 and for the launch vehicle, for all of its automated pilot, guidance, navigation and control system. And there are hundreds of checks and controls that are performed during these last minutes on the launch vehicle itself, on its different fluid and electrical systems, including the last minutes of topping up through these two pipelines that you see that are still feeding and compensating for evaporation on the third stage tanks, which are fueled with liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. We should see those arms open up at -4 seconds.
So if we're seeing those processes going on, does that mean, of course, that there is still a possibility of manual override from the ground control team if any fault occurs?
Correct. There's always the possibility of manual override until a couple of seconds before ignition, and even after ignition there is still a possibility if one of the ground computers detects that one of the engines is not performing correctly, there would be an automatic launch abort, as we call it, so coming back into safe configuration, and of course nothing would be lost because the solids would not have been ignited.
But what we're seeing here is, when you say synchronized in terms of the computers, that's because presumably the massive data that has to be handled and analyzed and, if you like, acted upon is beyond the work of the human brain. It needs to be computerized.
Right. It is safer and more reliable to do it with computers because number of operations is so high. Steve Hall again.
Steve Hall again, yes, with the
sitting next
team.
to Mr. Teruhiko Ena, who is the president of Space Communications Corporation, the customer for this launch. And on the far left is the president of the spacecraft manufacturing company, Mr. T. Kregel, president of Hughes Space and Communications.
So they look very composed. So obviously the spacecraft is in a healthy state, ready to fly, no problems.
That's right. And their operational teams, which we should see also, they're sitting just one row in front of them here in Jupiter Mission Control. They are in permanent contact with the satellite team. This is Mr. Jacques Rossignol, the chief operating officer.
Man who took the tough decision yesterday.
Ariane-Start, exactly. He was the one who announced the postponement. And the team that is sitting next to him has the overall fly or no-fly decision-making power, especially in case of an unforeseen event. And this is the operational team now of the SUPERBIRD 4 operations. They are in permanent contact through telephone and specialized links with the satellite team sitting at the firing room, about 14 kilometers from ours here, and at the checkout station, as well as with Japan, where all of the ground operations for the early orbit phase of SUPERBIRD 4 will be carried out.
I think it's worth pointing out, while we have a moment, that we are at the culmination, if you like, of a process that started, well, certainly at least 12 months ago, if you take into account the production phase, a process involving well over 100 companies, thousands of staff in over a dozen countries, all contributing in terms of very high quality output. Otherwise, this remarkable record of reliability could not have been sustained. And they bring us to this point, approaching a minute now away from liftoff. So it's a big story. I mean, in fact, it's a global story, a story of global dimensions. All right, now coming up to a minute. Time perhaps to
dose de DDO, attention pour au moins 1 minute.
Let's Thierry Bouffard again.
Right.
Yeah.
Top à 0 moins 1 minute.
Okay, into the last minute, time to welcome latecomers to the programme, and indeed those involved in launch celebrations in various parts of the world. Put your glass down perhaps, but do turn to the screen. We're about to see the launch count for Ariane Flight 127 lifting SUPERBIRD 4 into orbit over the Pacific. We send our best wishes, of course, from the commentary team to SCC, the client, to Hughes, the makers, and to everyone involved in this record-breaking Ariane team. Good luck, or as they say in the UK, when they want the very, very best performance, break a leg.
Tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage. Décollage. Tous les paramètres normaux. Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux. Début de manœuvre en roulis.
What can you say? It's a marvellous sight. One of
Extraction
the
des propulseurs à point à poudre.
great symbols, I think, of man's technological achievement. A launcher blasting off into space. You must have seen that many times, Juan.
Paramètres à bord normaux.
Yes, quite a few. I didn't count them actually, but several dozens. And I must say that even if people here do train and simulate each operation, there's still some amount of emotion left when it's real.
There it goes into the cloud, yes? It's just
Tous les paramètres à bord sont
It's an
normaux.
optical camera showing the 8 engines burning right now.
Back to the
Largage
technical
des deux
details.
propulseurs à point à poudre.
We hear the rumble now coming to
Paramètres à bord
us.
sont normaux.
Only
Indeed.
now
Wow.
over the Jupiter mission control.
Back to the technical details, Juan, because of course a lot happens in this first 3 minutes. So presumably the tilt maneuver has happened,
Right, that happened just at plus 13 seconds.
and we've lost the solid
Propulsion
boosters.
stable, paramètres bord normaux.
They were dropped at 69 seconds. How long do
Right.
the liquid boosters burn?
The burn time of the 2 liquid boosters that are still giving propulsion is in total about 2.5 minutes.
And could you take us through these indicators on the right-hand side of the screen, what they're indicating?
Right, in white you see from top to bottom T in seconds, that's the elapsed time since ignition. And we'll see just underneath we see the system that
Pilotage
is
très
used
calme.
for the tracking right now. That's one of the inertial platforms on board. On the third line we might see the angle under which radars will be tracking the launcher. Right now we're
Extinction
not
des
using
deux
a radar
propulseurs à point liquide.
on this screen. Okay, we just heard confirmation of the burnout of the two liquid
Largage des deux
boosters,
propulseurs à point liquide.
Okay.
and they are jettisoning as well.
If we look at the curve, the track, the curve, the circle there
paramètres à bord
indicates
sont
the
normaux.
hypothetical position and the cross inside the actual position. Is that
Correct,
right?
correct. And
Yes.
they're supposed to be on track all the time.
Which they
Now we
appear
go
to be.
down the last two lines on the data column on the right-hand side. The A stands for altitude, so that's 55 kilometers and rising over the Atlantic Ocean. You said, William, that SUPERBIRD 4 will go into the Pacific. That's correct, but right now we're still overflying the
Indeed.
Atlantic.
Indeed, right.
And velocity in kilometers per second. So
and we are
that's
awaiting.
increasing.
I mean, obviously everything's now beyond visual range, so we're using computer animation here. We are waiting for the first major event of the flight, which is the separation of that huge first stage with its four big engines.
Yes.
Extinction du premier étage.
That's the confirmation from the range operations manager saying that the first stage,
Séparation premier, deuxième
Has
étage.
burnout.
Allumage deuxième étage.
good news,
Indeed.
separation and ignition of second
Les
stage.
paramètres à
And we
bord
can
sont
see from the
normaux.
curve top left-hand corner of the screen that we are still, the cross is still inside the circle. I mean, it looks as if it's almost on tracks. Of course, it's not. That's the onboard autopilot, isn't it? Working.
That's correct.
Doing its
yes.
lot.
In fact, the way the autopilot, or in our jargon, the navigation control system is that it knows where the launcher is, and this is all automatic from onboard. These people here are just monitoring and receiving the so-called quick look data that's part of the telemetry being transmitted. So the automatic pilot knows where the launcher is at each moment, and it also knows where it has to go, and it therefore adjusts accordingly.
Here we come into the separation of the
Tous les
cover on
paramètres à bord sont
the
normaux.
spacecraft itself, the cowling, the fairings on the
Largage de la
spacecraft.
coiffe.
Okay, we just
announced by the DDO, and the
fairing
animation will show
jettison.
them coming off, perhaps. That's a very important part, the loss of the fairings, in terms of the
propulsion
mass loss
instable.
program, isn't it, Juan?
Right, yes, we're just lost over 500 kilograms now, and that is important to optimize the whole mass profile throughout the mission so that the fuel can be used in the optimum way. Therefore, the injection accuracy is maximum, and the spacecraft can be delivered with a high accuracy, high reliability at the foreseen point in space.
If you come back to the details, take us through those. We're, what, 140 kilometers
Right,
in
so
altitude?
we're well above the atmosphere now.
And
the
traveling
automatic
at?
pilot is still controlling the whole flight from onboard, and the velocity right now is 5 kilometers per second, which corresponds to as much as 18,000 kilometers per hour.
So it's already 5 minutes into flight, already 18,000 kilometers.
Correct.
Ah.
Extinction du deuxième
If
étage.
we look at the delta velocity, or the increase
Séparation de trois.
in speed given by the second stage, it goes from 12,000 to
Allumage du dernier étage.
22,000 kilometers.
That's the except at the second stage burn.
Right, and now we just heard
Les paramètres à
confirmation
bord sont normaux.
of ignition of third stage, so that's the final phase.
The third stage, that's the advanced cryogenic engine, isn't it?
Correct.
That's a very, very...
the most efficient propulsion technology that is mastered today, and only by a few companies in the world, is cryogenic propulsion. And that's the one used during the third stage. Now, all these data that we can give you in real time are being sent to the ground stations right now, to the Kourou one, by the launch vehicle to this team sitting a few kilometers away on a hill called the CVI, or Quick Look.
Acquisition et les mesures
They're
de
monitoring the
Natal.
very first reception of data.
Right, only part of the data,
yeah.
because there are hundreds of other parameters that are recorded and analyzed afterwards
Okay,
for
so
quality control.
we're awaiting now, what, the acquisition by the Natal station, are we?
Yes, in fact, the operations manager just confirmed the acquisition by the Natal station in Brazil.
Now, these tracking stations, obviously they play a very important part in tracking the flight of the bird, but they're also very important in terms of maintaining quality control after the flight
Yes.
is over. Is
Yes,
that right?
in fact, each
Il reste
of
encore
the
700
hundreds of
secondes de
parameters
propulsion.
is analyzed in detail after the flight, so as to make sure that the slightest deviation from the nominal behavior turbopumps or temperatures or pressures is monitored, and that it can be corrected because before it becomes any major deviation. And all this has to be completed and explained, eventually corrected, before the next launch is authorized. So this is one of the major components of the Ariane-Start quality control and quality assurance system.
So now we're into the stage that really leads to, are we not, the directly to the injection of the satellite. So this is a very, very crucial part of the curve. Is that right, Juan?
Yes, we are, of course, well above the atmosphere, so we do not need the half shells of the fairing, which are manufactured in Switzerland by Gravis. And right now there's no friction, so we can make the best use.
221 kilometers.
Right. We will soon see that the altitude will diminish because the optimization of the trajectory makes it so that we will use the force of gravity to gain velocity during a few minutes of the stage propulsion phase.
So you mean this going over the top? So is that the ballistic maneuver?
Correct. That's
a loss height, gain speed maneuver. Does the cryogenic engine burn during that phase?
It is still burning, yes. The total burn time is about 13 minutes, so we still have a few to go. And I must say that the propulsion technology that is used on this third stage is really cutting-edge technology. Just to give you a figure, one of the major systems in the cryogenic engine that is giving propulsion right now is the so-called turbopump, which is pumping the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen from the tanks and ejecting it at high pressure into the combustion chamber. I hope we can see a picture of this turbopump in a moment, and we'll give you a couple of more details.
When you say it's cutting-edge technology, you mean it's right at the front edge of cryogenic technology, is it?
Right. What we call cryogenic means using propellants at very, very low temperatures like liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. In fact, only companies in the world do master this technology, and in the case of Ariane, it is SNECMA, the manufacturer of virtually all engines for
Fin de
Ariane.
visibilité nominale par la station télémesure de Kourou.
Am I right in saying that they are developing a cryogenic upper stage for Ariane 5 to increase its lift capability?
Correct, yes.
Oh, there's your pump. There's your pump.
That's the pump, yes.
It is.
Just a figure on this piece of engineering. The shaft that is pumping the liquid hydrogen is turning at as high as 60,000 revolutions per minute. Can you imagine that?
60,000 revolutions a minute.
Correct.
No wonder this engine has a high efficiency. We've got a bit of time to spare because of this long burn of the third stage. Let's talk about SUPERBIRD itself, since that's what this flight is all about, because it is a considerably more powerful satellite than the one it's going to replace, isn't it, Juan?
Yes, it certainly is. In fact, it has been integrated around a so-called HS-01 platform or structure made by Hughes Space and Communications, and that HS-601 is in fact the best-selling spacecraft bus. It is carrying for SUPERBIRD 4 as many as 29 transponders. Some of them give an output of very powerful amount of 80 watts. And all in all, this very advanced platform is going to give to SUPERBIRD 4 a lifetime of about 15 years. Of course, Hughes is also manufacturing other buses, and the second best selling in the world is the more classical HS-376. And they have started, in fact, the operation of even larger telecommunication satellite buses, the so-called HS-702, also made in El Segundo, California, where we hope there is quite a few of you listening to us.
Wave to us, please.
From Hughes and also from Spectral Lab and Hughes Electron Dynamics and so on. We were told there are several thousand of you listening to us there. And in fact, we're very proud here in Kourou that the first 702 platform ever from Hughes was launched by an Ariane in December of last year, and there are two more slated for an Ariane launch this year, 2000.
Could I just place SUPERBIRD 4 in its, if you like, in its commercial rather than its technological context, because Ariane-Start does seem to have a very strong marketing position in
Yes,
Japan.
in fact,
16 out of 22 satellites on offer were won by Ariane-Start, is that right?
Yes, in fact, this is the result of years-long investment in the Asia-Pacific area, where Ariane-Start has a long-standing office in Tokyo and a more recent office in Singapore. All of this is bearing its fruits, of course, and just let me give you the figures of the launch schedule for this year 2000. Ariane-Start is planning between 8 and 10 Ariane 4s, plus 5 Ariane 5s. So this is just the beginning of the Ariane 5 career, and we're expecting even more launches of Ariane 5 in the coming 2 years.
Bringing you back to 1271, here we are with the acquisition by Ascension.
Yes.
In the middle of the Atlantic, so it's
after the Brazilian station, visibility goes on eastwards. Yes. We have to make sure that we do receive, without any interruption, all the telemetry data. We're right now receiving from the island of Ascension.
Nice to say that Ascension used to have a very big role to play 200 years ago during the time of sailing ships. Nelson, of course. Nice to think that it's now got a big role to play in terms of tracking rather more advanced forms of transport, namely launches. Now we're in a very, very interesting position here, coming towards the end of the powered phase of flight, of course, towards the extinction of the third phase of the engine.
Look at how accurate the curve still is, and it is all from on board. Let's just mention the name of the company that is responsible for the vehicle equipment bay, where all the control equipment is located, and that's
Paramètres bord normaux.
Right.
Pas de poursuite nominale par la station télémesure de Natal.
In Toulouse, and all parameters normal. Just normal loss of visibility from the Brazilian station in Natal, so we're now under full visibility of the Ascension Island ground station.
You mentioned reliability a moment ago, Juan. I mean, it is a remarkable story when you think about it. 100 and whatever it is, 126, now 127 flights, 163 satellites launched. There's 53 in a row without fault. Obviously, a real tribute to the skill of the ground control teams and to the quality of the technology.
Yes, in fact, I would say it's all combined, and it is all the result of the correct technical choices that were made years back, as well as choosing the right industrial partners. One should not forget that the major aerospace companies in Europe were rightly,
tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
Everything is normal on board. We're rightly chosen, and we're still working with the same companies, so the know-how and the experience has not been
passed on.
Is not lost.
And we shouldn't forget
they're also manufacturing Ariane 5, the same people.
And we shouldn't forget the frequency, because that's obviously a very important part of the process now. The frequency of flight 9 in 25 weeks. Will the new facilities here at Kourou help to sustain that frequency?
Yes, we've been in the past years constantly improving and adapting for the higher launch rate. In fact, late last year there was the inauguration of a new storage building for Ariane 5 boosters, because we needed room to put them, waiting for the launch rate increase. And there is also right now under construction to be delivered at the end of this year a brand new spacecraft processing facility for the next generation spacecraft for Ariane 5, as well as for telecommunication constellations.
Let me drag you back to this flight, Juan, from your musing about the future. Just take us through the parameters again.
Yes, we still have, right now we still have 3 minutes of propulsive flight of the third stage, approaching the point where it's marked EXT, which stands for
extinction of the third stage, yes,
of the H10.
36 kilometers.
Yeah, we will see now that the altitude will soon start to climb very quickly, because the remaining of the launcher and the spacecraft are already entering the elliptical orbit. So
that's the free flight stage after the extinction, is that?
Correct.
And speed, I mean, up to what, something around 30,000 kilometers an hour.
Right, that's the orbital speed that is needed, so it will still raise a little bit and then will decay, because the third stage not only has to deliver SUPERBIRD 4 into the right altitude, but also at the right velocity, so as to ensure that it will stay in this so-called geostationary transfer orbit, with its lowest point.
Il reste 100 secondes de propulsion.
200 kilometers and its highest point close to 36,000
There is
kilometers.
a very, I mean, the accuracy of the ejection is obviously a very, very important factor.
Yes, it is.
In terms of, well, both its commercial and its technological advantages.
Yes, it is. And I must say here the importance of the overall systems engineering, which is provided by Aerospatiale Matra, Launchers Division, responsible for quite a lot of work on the launcher. And the accuracy, as you say, is something that brings us, as a consequence, a longer spacecraft lifetime. Let me tell you why. Because...
Make it brief, Juan, because we're coming up to extinction, but carry on.
If you
Commercial
deliver,
advantage.
if you deliver the spacecraft within 100 meters of the target in terms of perigee, or within a few kilometers in terms of apogee, it allows the spacecraft to save a lot of fuel for its final
And that extends its
autonomy.
life.
And that extends the life accordingly, because you have more fuel for the
40
lifetime
secondes de
for the station
propulsion.
keeping.
So here we know this is the acquisition by
Ascension. After
Ascension.
Ascension, we have the first African continental station in Libreville, Gabon. That's on the
Libreville,
on
yes.
the western
So-
coast of Africa.
And there is an overlap, of course, between the tracking stations.
Yes.
Pause
we
now, because
always-
we're coming to this for the DDO's announcement. Of the extinction. So,
Extinction du dernier étage.
there it is, the extinction of the third stage. I'm right in saying, Juan, that the Ariane-Start mission is accomplished at the point of ejection. Is that right, about 2 minutes from now?
Yes,
Début de
I
première
would
manœuvre
say
d'orientation.
with regard to the customer, the main job will be accomplished, but the last delivery, in fact, is the mathematical so-called orbital diagnostic with the precise parameters of the orbit that is communicated by Ariane-Start to SCC, so that it can carry on then fully independently the early orbit phase maneuvers.
There we can see the animation showing us the... But it isn't yet separated. The spacecraft is not yet separated from the third.
There's still
stage.
one piece, the
Yes,
spacecraft
yes.
on top and the vehicle equipment bay within inside that white ring, and the third stage itself.
Yeah.
In fact, we will need some of the third stage's remaining hydrogen final fine-tuning, so-called space ballet maneuvers. Maybe we can describe them in a minute.
And how is the actual
Deuxième phase
separation
d'orientation
of
en
the
cours.
spacecraft achieved from the third stage? Is it simply a stone from a catapult, or is it technologically achieved?
Well, there is a so-called clamp band that is holding right now the spacecraft to the third stage, a mechanical piece that will be released with the help of a small pyrotechnical bolt, so nothing spectacular. It will still be a smooth ride. And just with the help of a few springs, SUPERBIRD 4 will be gently pushed away
Fin
from
de
the
la
third
phase
stage.
d'orientation.
So a
And
very
then-
gentle separation.
Right, and then we have
An avoidance maneuver.
avoidance
problem.
maneuver
Yeah.
to make sure that the
Here
two
we are
bodies
coming up now to the
separation point.
Let's wait for the DDO's announcement. There's the Director of Operations, Thierry Bouffard, waiting for his announcement.
Only after that we're allowed to applaud.
Séparation SUPERBIRD 4.
There we
There
go.
it is. There goes the applause. Quite rightly, there is immense relief and satisfaction and
Yes.
jubilation and celebration
Now
inside
they're,
Jupiter.
now they're composed.
Shaking of hands, as you can see there, quite rightly, after yet another huge success.
So I guess if it has not happened already, the Space Communications Corporation people here and in Japan at the control stations, they do want to hear their baby cry, meaning they do want
to hear the first,
signal coming from the spacecraft to show that it is alive,
yes,
and that they can talk to it.
have identified its position. Is that part of the contractual arrangement, a handing over of the position of the satellite?
Correct. That's the last delivery, in fact, towards the client. But Ariane-Start still has another delivery towards the environment to make, and that is what we call, that's Bernard congratulating his customers.
Relief, look at the relief in those people, obviously.
Yes.
It's there.
The delivery to the environment, I would say, is to make sure that we clean up the mess, if I may say so. Cleaning up the mess means...
Not too many pieces flying around in space.
Yes, let the orbit as clean as possible, and we talk perhaps later about the passivation of the third stage.
You hear Jacques Rossignol there preparing. We are going to the speeches. Jacques Rossignol, I think, and Terhika Ena and Tig Krekel will make speeches. I understand they'll make those speeches in English. But I think we're coming to the first replay of the launch. So while we're waiting for that, let me take you back to the accuracy of injection, because that obviously is an Ariane-Space quality. They have very high levels of accuracy from both Ariane 4 and Ariane 5's flight.
Correct.
Which gives them this...
the competitive advantage. In fact, the first commercial flight of Ariane 5 in December showed that it can achieve exactly the same accuracy as the Ariane 4 launcher, which is in fact a world record. Okay, end of launcher mission means that the third stage is passivated. It has been vented.
Oh, indeed.
From its
the remaining
propellants.
fuel has been vented.
Correct. Yes. So as to avoid any explosion and the unnecessary generation of space debris.
See smiles on people's faces down there after an extremely smooth mission. I mean, as I said, the cursor was almost travelling on rails on that curve. Waiting, as I said, now for the first replay of the launch. People smiling faces, obviously. After
these two
delay
gentlemen
yesterday.
sitting in front here, they're responsible for all of the optical tracking systems.
Oh, they are.
The visible and infrared cameras, the telescope on Salvation Islands, and all of the technical cameras around the launch pad. One of the recordings we should see in a minute in the replay now. Should come up in a second.
Great relief after that 24-hour delay caused by the weather. Here we go with the first replay.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage. Décollage. Tous les paramètres normaux. Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
So it's now 54 in a row, another world record, and here we're going to have, I think, the speeches.
Well, it looks very simple when it's a success. It's like being on TV or watching a movie. But I can tell you that what's impressive is people behind the screen. To cancel the flight tomorrow at the time we were ready to go, and to be able to do it again 24 hours after the cancellation means that a lot of people did a hell of a work overnight. I guess I am not authorized to tell you how many hours people have been working, but that's okay, as long as it's a success, I guess. So I would like to congratulate all our team from CNES, from Ariane-Space, for the fantastic job they have been doing, not only in the 24 last hours, but on the 2 or 3 weeks they have been in campaign for the launch. Now I'd like to not introduce, but to present Mr. Ena, who is chairman of Space and Communication Company, and Tig Krekel, chairman of Hughes, the manufacturer of the satellite. And Mr. I am very proud that we could deliver your satellite on time at your request, because you were pretty specific on the date you wanted to be launched, and it shows how efficient our people can be and dedicated to meet your requirements. It's also show that we have proved our reliability, because I remind everybody that this flight is the 53rd success in a row of Ariane 4. SCC is a very faithful customer, because not only we have been able to satisfy you today, but we expect to have another launch this fall for another satellite that you have been kind enough to give us for launch. So I'd like to thank you for this faithful attitude, and I wish you and your company success with SUPERBIRD 4, which I believe will replace SUPERBIRD B, and it was also an Ariane 4 launch in February '92, and that was flight number 49, which looks pretty old, so it means that the satellite lasted that long. And once more, congratulations to you and to your company for this success. Thank you.
日本の皆様、おはようございます。1日遅れましたけれども、先ほどご覧いただきました通り、スーパーバード4号機は無事にロケットから切り離されまして、所定の軌道に入りました。今までご支援いただきました郵政省の皆様方、お客様、株主各位に対しまして、この席を借りまして厚く御礼を申し上げます。衛星は、先ほど説明があったかと思いますが、この後約2週間かけまして、所定の正式軌道に入りまして、その後搭載機器等の軌道上の試験を終えて、4月の上旬に私どもの会社の方に引き渡される予定でございます。で、宇宙通信社はこの8月に、新しい衛星さらにもう1機スーパーバード5号機を110度の軌道位置に打ち上げる予定でございます。これによりましてまた新たな高性能衛星を得て、お客様に対して、高度でかつ多様なサービスを提供するように、全社一丸となって頑張ってまいりますので、引き続きのご支援を賜りたくお願い申し上げます。本日は本当にありがとうございました。Ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy with the very good success of the our SUPERBIRD 4 launch. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you, both at the Arianespace and the Hughes Space and Communication. I should say Boeing Space and Communication in our future program. Satellite will make a journey to its designated orbital position by taking a couple of weeks, and thereafter in-orbit testing of the onboard equipment will be performed for about a month before the satellite will be delivered to our hand from Hughes Company. We really look forward to the very successful delivery of the satellite. And our company, SCC, will launch one more satellite, SUPERBIRD 5, around August of this year, as Mr. Rossignol mentioned. And this satellite will be placed into the 110 degree of the east longitude, and will be served for the variety of the multimedia services, including broadcasting. I would appreciate your continued support and cooperation to our company. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a first launch Dick Crackle attends here in Kourou, so I hope it will give Hughes a taste to come back and give us many more launches in the future, right?
Oui, j'espère. Et encore pour le Boeing Satellite Systems aussi,
Right.
j'espère.
Sure.
Bon, d'accord. On behalf of what is still Hughes Space and Communications, I'd like to express to you, Eneson and Jacques, how proud we are to be part of this successful team. This SUPERBIRD mission has been an important one to you and I. We set that date, February 11th, together in Geneva, and we stuck to it. And so both Hughes and Ariane performed exactly on schedule. So congratulations, Eneson.
Thank you, Dave. Bien, vous savez que notre manifeste cette année est très chargé et notre prochain lancement sera une Ariane 5, le deuxième vol commercial d'Ariane 5 qui se prépare avec l'objectif d'être
we
tiré à
have
la
a
mi-mars.
manifest.
Donc,
The next launch will be an Ariane 5
ici, rendez-vous à
towards
mi-mars
mid-March.
pour
So
le
see you
prochain
then
vol Ariane 5. Merci beaucoup.
for the next Ariane 5 launch. Thank you very much.
We're now going to have a second replay, I understand, of the launch. I'm prepared to watch it. I hope you are.
Yes, I am.
Well, everybody very happy there. Hughes and SCC.
Allumage.
Tarika Inna. Here we go.
Décollage. Tous les paramètres normaux. Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux. Début de manœuvre en roulis. Extinction des propulseurs à point à poudre. Fin de la manœuvre en roulis. Paramètres à bord normaux.
Well, a beautiful sight there. Nice to see again. Apart from congratulating everyone connected with this flight, that really is it. Second flight of the year 2000 and a huge success. 54 successful flights in a row now. So really congratulations to all who took part. SCC, of course, Hughes, the makers, and this remarkable Ariane team were able to work through the 24-hour delay and put together such a good performance. And as Juan has just said, back in March with an Ariane 5 flight.
Well, in fact, it was Mr. Rossignol who said it.
You repeated it.
William, let me just add that it has been a real pleasure working with a celebrity, worldwide celebrity, not just in the UK, named William Willard. I've learned a lot from you, and I look forward to many more Ariane launchers with many more viewers around the world who, as long as they cannot make it physically here, they'll have to watch these transmissions.